Well, hello everyone. This is Miss Amy Ochoa from the Ridgecrest United Methodist Church. Happy Thanksgiving! Thanks for joining me today as we go through one of my favorite Thanksgiving stories, Stone Soup. And if you hang around to the end, I have picked out some very special Thanksgiving projects that we can do together. If you're in the Ridgecrest area, you can pick up these free projects yourself at the church's free little library. Otherwise, just get some blank pieces of paper and I'll show you how to do it from scratch. So come along with me as we celebrate Thanksgiving together. Before we get into reading our story for today, I thought it would be fun to learn the song that goes with the story, Stone Soup. So, with your good singing voices, let's sing along together. We're going to do it a couple of times. It starts off like this. The stone goes in the soup, the stone goes in the soup. We'll stir and stir and stir, the stone goes in the soup. The next part goes, the carrots go in the soup, the carrots go in the soup. We'll stir and stir and stir, the carrots go in the soup. Next is peas. The peas go in the soup, the peas go in the soup. We'll stir and stir and stir, the peas go in the soup. Now corn. The corn goes in the soup, the corn goes in the soup. We'll stir and stir and stir, the corn goes in the soup. Now for the very last part of the song. Now the soup is done, now the soup is done. We'll eat and eat and eat, now the soup is done. Great job! That's a really fun song to sing. So this time, we're going to sing it all the way through, not stopping, but I want you to think of some hand motions to go with it. So maybe you can have your arm like you're holding a pot of soup, and then as we sing the song, start dropping in the stone, the carrots, the peas, the corn, and at the end, pretend like you're eating it. And then when it says, we'll stir and stir and stir, go ahead and use your other arm and stir that big pot of soup up, okay? So think of some hand movements as we go through the song. Again, are you ready? Big singing voices. The stone goes in the soup, the stone goes in the soup. We'll stir and stir and stir, the stone goes in the soup. The carrots go in the soup, the carrots go in the soup. We'll stir and stir and stir, the carrots go in the soup. The peas go in the soup, the peas go in the soup. We'll stir and stir and stir, the peas go in the soup. The corn goes in the soup, the corn goes in the soup. We'll stir and stir and stir, the corn goes in the soup. Now the soup is done, now the soup is done. We'll eat and eat and eat, now the soup is done. Great singing voices. Now we are ready to dig into today's story, Stone Soup. Here we go. 3 soldiers trudged down a road in a strange country. They were on their way home from the wars. Besides being tired, they were hungry. In fact, they had eaten nothing for 2 days. "How I would like a good dinner tonight," said the first. "And a bed to sleep in," said the second. "But all that is impossible," said the third. "We must march on." On they marched. Suddenly, ahead of them, they saw the lights of a village. "Maybe we'll find a bite to eat there," said the first. "And a loft to sleep in," said the second. "No harm in asking," said the third. Now the peasants of that place feared strangers. When they heard the 3 soldiers were coming down the road, they talked among themselves. "Here come 3 soldiers, Soldiers are always hungry, but we have little enough for ourselves." And they hurried to hide their food. They pushed sacks of barley under the hay in the lofts. They lowered buckets of milk down the wells. They spread old quilts over the carrot bins. They hid their cabbages and potatoes under their beds. They hung their meat in the cellars. They hid all they had to eat. Then they waited. The soldiers stopped at the first house of Paul and Francis. "Good evening to you," they said. "Could you spare a bite of food for 3 hungry soldiers?" "We have no food for ourselves for 3 days," said Paul. Francis made a sad face. "It has been a poor harvest." The 3 soldiers went on to the house of Albert and Louise. "Could you spare a bit of food, and have you some corner where we could sleep for the night?" "Oh, no," said Albert. "We gave all we could spare to soldiers who came before you." "Our beds are full," said Lois. At Vincent and Marie's, the answer was the same. It had been a poor harvest, and all the grain must be kept for seed. So it went all through the village. Not a peasant had any food to give away. They all had good reasons. One family had used the grain for feed. Another had an old sick father to care for. All had too many mouths to fill. The villagers stood in the street and sighed. They looked as hungry as they could. The 3 soldiers talked together. Then the first soldier called out, "Good people, the peasants, draw near. We are 3 hungry soldiers in a strange land. We have asked you for food, and you have no food. Well then, we'll have to make stone soup." The peasants stared. Stone soup? That would be something to know about. "First, we'll need a large iron pot," the soldiers said. The peasants brought the largest pot they could find. How else to cook enough? "That's none too large," said the soldiers, "but it will do. And now fill water to the top and get a fire to heat it up." It took many buckets of water to fill the pot. A fire was built on the village square, and the pot was set to boil. "And now, if you please, 3 round, smooth stones." Those were really easy to find. The peasants' eyes grew round as they watched the soldiers drop the stones into the pot. "Any soup needs salt and pepper," said the soldiers as they began to stir. Children ran to fetch salt and pepper. "Stones like these generally make good soup, but oh, if there were carrots, it would be much better." "Why, I think I have carrot or 2, said Frances, and off she ran. She came back with her apron full of carrots from the bin beneath the red quilt. "A good stone soup should have cabbage," said the soldiers as they sliced the carrots into the pot. "But no use asking for what you don't have." "I think I could find cabbage somewhere," said Marie, and she hurried home. Back she came with 3 cabbages from the cupboard under the bed. "If only we had a bit of beef and a few potatoes, this soup would be good enough for a rich man's table." The peasants thought that over. They remembered their potatoes and the sides of beef hanging in the cellars. They ran to fetch them. A rich man's soup, and all from a few stones. It seemed like magic. "Ah," sighed the soldiers as they stirred in the beef and potatoes. "If only we had a little barley and a cup of milk, this soup would be fit for the king himself. Indeed, he asked for just such a soup when last he dined with us. The peasants looked at each other. The soldiers had entertained the king. Well, but no use asking for what you don't have, the soldiers sighed. The peasants brought their barley from the lofts. They brought their milk from the wells. The soldiers stirred the barley and the milk into the steaming broth while the peasants stared. At last the soup was ready. All of you shall taste, the soldiers said, but first a table must be set. Great tables were placed in the square, and all around were lighted torches. Such a soup! How good it smelled! Truly fit for a king. But then the peasants asked themselves, would not such a soup require bread and a roast and cider? Soon a banquet was spread, and everyone sat down to eat. Never had there been such a feast. Never had the peasants tasted such a soup, and fancy, made from stones. They ate and drank and ate and drank, and after that they danced. They danced and sang far into the night. At last they were tired. Then the 3 soldiers asked, is there not a loft where we could sleep? Let 3 such wise and splendid gentlemen sleep in a loft indeed. They must have the best beds in the village. So the first soldier slept in the priest's house. The second soldier slept in the baker's house, and the third soldier slept in the mayor's house. In the morning, the whole village gathered in the square to give them a send-off. Many thanks for what you have taught us, the peasants said to the soldiers. We shall never go hungry now that we know how to make soup from stones. Oh, it's all in knowing how, said the soldiers, and off they went down the road. Such men don't grow on every bush. The end. Ugh, don't you just love the story of stone soup? It helps us be reminded during this Thanksgiving season that if we all pitch in a little, the whole community can be cared for more than enough. And if we do share, we turn strangers into friends, just like those soldiers came into the town but left as friends. So let's remember to be thankful for what we have and share what we can with our community so everyone gets enough. I think it's a great time to pause right here and learn a new song. Let's learn this song called I'm a Little Turkey. The turkey that's on the screen is not so little, but let's learn this song together. Repeat after me. I'm a little turkey. You say it. My name is Ted. You say it. Here are my feathers. Here is my head. Gobble, gobble, gobble is what I say. Run, 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 because it's Thanksgiving Day. Good. All right, let's try that again, but this time you say it with me. Ready? I'm a little turkey, my name is Ted. Here are my feathers, here is my head. Gobble, gobble, gobble is what I say. Run, 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 because it's Thanksgiving Day. That goes to I'm a little teapot. I'm a little teapot, short and stout. All right, so let's try it again. Ready? Our turkey Ted. Here we go. I'm a little turkey, my name is Ted. Here are my feathers, here is my head. Gobble, gobble, gobble is what I say. Run, 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 because it's Thanksgiving Day. Great singing voices. I love that. One of the projects in the Stone Soup activity pack is a little printable book. So if you have that printable, go ahead and get it now. And you can start to color it, but I want to read it with you too. So make sure you have it. If you don't have the Stone Soup activity packet, you can just cut up some pieces of paper, and as we go along, you can pause the video, write down the words to the story, and draw your own pictures of the drawings. So let's get started. Stone Soup, and then you can add by your name. We put a stone in the pot. Look how big that rock is. We put corn in the pot. We put potatoes in the pot. We put green beans in the pot. We put peas in the pot. We put carrots in the pot. We put onions in the pot. We put tomatoes in the pot. We put salt and pepper in the pot. We ate stone soup. The end. Have fun coloring this book. Let's move on to our next project, shall we? One of the other projects in the Stone Soup activity kit is this cutout of Mr. Turkey, and it says, I thank God for. So we need to use this time to think about what we're thankful for. Maybe it's your family or your friends or your school, but I wrote down that I am thankful for my church because I love my church at Ridgecrest United Methodist Church so much. And I thank God for my church and the people that make up that church and that community. But I want you to think of some things that you thank God for all year long, not just at Thanksgiving. And after you're done coloring the turkey, make sure you put this up somewhere for people to see, maybe in your window or on the refrigerator, because when we are thankful for things, we want to make sure we share that with others. I can't wait to see what you're thankful for and how your turkey turns out. If you don't have this very specific kind of printout, you could just write or draw on a piece of paper what you thank God for. And if you want to, you could even try your best to draw a turkey and then on his belly, write or draw what you're thankful for. Good job. Well, here's wishing you and your family a very special Thanksgiving.